I am Lindsay. This is the channel Kelly Day Goals. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for joining me. I am here with my homeschool cart that is way overloaded for its weight limit. I think I need to look into a larger one for this next school year because it doesn't roll quite the same way it used to. But anyway, I am going to talk about our family subjects today. Like I said, I'm Lindsay. My husband is a fireman, which is a huge reason why we homeschool, because it gives us incredible flexibility. And we have two boys, one going into third grade, or technically we already started, he's in third grade, and one in kindergarten. So I'm gonna talk about, basically, I like to do as much as a family as we possibly can. There are very few things that my kids do individually, but I'm just gonna go through and show you what all we use. So I'm gonna start with my planner. This is, I should have figured it out because I just talked about it in another video, but I think it's from Advanced Paper Co. It is a downloadable PDF planner. She sells other ones, or used to. Not sure if she's still open. But I really liked this style because of the layout. So I will show you in here. If you watched my scheduling, how we schedule our homeschool year video, then you will have already seen this. But we are on week 6. I don't like putting dates on our weeks because that stresses me out, because eventually everything gets off of it. So I like building flexibility into our school year and just writing a week number so I still have an idea about where we are in the school year. With that being said, we have already started. We are on week 6, but I've just been really busy and I haven't had the time to make this video. But it is one of my favorite videos that I get to do, so I'm excited to finally get to it. So we do school 4 days a week. Each column is a school day. I make these little boxes in front of each subject, and then I just like to take a highlighter and mark it off so I can, at a glance, very clearly see where we're at in the week. And then we start with a morning basket, which again, you saw my whole cart. Everything that I need on a daily basis is in here. It's not like I have an individual basket anymore. We've grown past that. And then our family subjects, which I just have together written here. And then my kids' individual subjects. And then if you saw my last video, enrichment, that's more fun stuff that we usually don't do until the summer. My poor kids. So let's start. Morning basket. Every morning we start with handwriting. My kids use the Good and the Beautiful handwriting. I print it out on individual papers because I bought the PDF, and then that way I could reuse it for my kids. So I actually bought this with my now 8-year-old when he was in kindergarten. Technically, okay, so they have doodles and pre-writing for littles, part 1 and part 2. This is, you can see there's just a couple pages left that he had to finish from pre-K 4, and then I have kindergarten printed, and he will start that for the next year. I like this, not even so much, I know this doesn't even look like handwriting. Let me show you my sons, my other sons, older sons. So he, it's like actual handwriting type stuff. I just like it because we start the day with that. They can work on it at any point in time. I have mentioned this before, but I always anchor our school day to a meal, usually breakfast, but breakfast or lunch. So they're usually starting at the table by sitting down and eating their meal, and then they move on to their handwriting. But they know that they have to finish it before they're done at the table. So it's up to them when they get it done. I think it gives them a little bit of responsibility, and they know that once they have completed it, then they can flip it over and draw a picture on the back. So they've got free paper once that's done. So just something to, if we come across a subject where there's a lot of reading and they have to do a lot of sitting and listening, it gives them some busy work to work on, essentially, while also working on their handwriting. Now, I also like to keep in here some sort of drawing tutorial on paper. So this was just one. I usually will like find a how to draw book and just copy its pages so that my kids can each have their own copy and paper space to do it on. They don't use one of these every single day, but again, if we're to come across like a really lengthy reading section, I will hand them one of these. Today we had some history reading that took a while, and just because I knew it was a lot to listen to, I handed them one of these to help just help them sit there quietly and listen, essentially. So next is okay, this isn't in my planner, but I started using this book last year, Morning Exercises for All the Year, a day book for teachers. And if you turn to basically all the dates, any date, it'll have something interesting about that. Okay, so yeah, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, there's a poem and like maybe some history about St. Patrick's Day. It might have like some famous people's birthdays or different things like that. It's kind of fun to read. Unfortunately, I don't think it doesn't start until September. So it goes from September to June. So right now it's August. We started school in July. So for weeks we have not been able to use this. And a friend of ours gave us this recently, these talking point cards. Now, some of them are like specific questions about school that don't pertain to my kids at all. Like, who is your favorite friend at school? Or like, who do you sit with at lunch at school? But there are some fun questions in there. Like this one was from today. Who is the funniest person you know? Why do you find them so funny? And so we've just kind of, I don't know, it's almost like a morning icebreaker to kind of work through some of those. Just when my kids were younger, we would do like a morning calendar with, the weather, what day of the week it was, what our plans were, that kind of stuff. It's just a fun time to kind of start the day gently. And then we move toward our scripture memorization. Now, I talked about this last year in this video last year. We hadn't started yet, but we were getting ready to, and I was very hopeful and very excited. And I am so thankful that this system has worked really, really well. This is the Scripture Memory System by simplycharlottemason.com. You can buy it pre-printed and have it sent to you, or you can buy the PDF, which is my style, and print it out yourself. So I just printed this on cardstock and then cut like around the little tabs. Now the way this works is for years I wanted to work on scripture memorization with my kids, but I just didn't know how to, and anything we tried didn't work very well. And when I read about this system, you'll have to go check it out on their website. It just made sense to me. It sounded like it would work really well, and it has. So every single morning we go through, it starts with the daily tab. So for example, we do this for scripture memorization and our catechism question. So each tab probably has 2 cards in it. So right now we are working on memorizing Philippians 4:8. So we review this every single day until we have it memorized. And then our catechism question that we're working on. Then, if you can see after that, there's an odd tab and an even tab. So for example, today is August 20th. That is an even number. So we skip odd and go to even, and we review the memory verse and the catechism question in there. And then that way, those are the things that we most recently learned. So once we accomplish the daily, it gets pushed back, and like every card gets pushed back until it gets to the once a month day. And so that way, like the ones that you're learning, you're practicing every day. Once you've learned it, you're gonna work on it every other day until you've gotten really good at it. And then you'll see the next tabs are days of the week. So then Sunday through Saturday. Now, I almost feel like I should get rid of the Sunday tab because we never do school on Sunday, but I made it, so I'm gonna leave it for now. But that might be a change that I make before the end of the year. If you're doing school Monday through Friday, and that's for sure, then you could just do the Monday through Friday tabs and make it simple. I have all 7 days of the week because last year we were kind of still doing school any of those days. Now we do school Monday through Saturday, 4 days a week. So then you're only reviewing it like once a week. Like I said, because of that Sunday tab, until the cards get pushed back, there's some cards in there that we're not reviewing for a while. So then after the days of the week, you get it pushed back to the number of the month. So then I would have done Wednesday. After even, I would have done Wednesday, and then I would have do 20 for today, which we haven't learned that many Bible verses yet, but I do have a catechism card in here that we would review. And once I get it to the days of the month, I just leave it in there and I'll continue to rotate that back. There's no reason for that, so I just keep adding to it. But this system of, it's kind of like, I really like any sort of group scheduling. So, and it's kind of like doing that where or if you're familiar with like spiral curriculums where you're working really intensely on one subject matter and then you go out and review something that you learned recently, and then every so often you go out and review something you learned even longer ago, and then every so often you review something that you learned a while ago, if that makes sense. This system has been working. We have memorized so many Bible verses this year. It's really incredible to see my kids totally memorize them before I do. And I don't know if that's just because they have mushy kid brains or because they aren't reading it while while they're speaking it, I'm reading it. So I'm not working as hard to memorize it, but even I am memorizing scripture passages, and I'm really, really proud of us. And if you're trying to figure out a system, this is it's index cards, in a little box. It's very cheap, it's very simple, and totally doable. And it takes way less time than it took for me to explain just now. So then we do our catechism. So I also was just starting this last year. We hadn't even started it yet, but we were talking about it. It's the Covenantal Catechism. I bought this from Cannonball Publishers, but it is from Line of Promise Press. I really liked it. So we had been doing the catechism for boys and girls. We started that, I think, in 2020. Yeah, when I had a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. So if you have really little kids and you want to start a catechism, I would totally suggest theirs. If you Google a catechism for boys and girls, you'll find it. And again, I just printed it out and would go week by week as we did it. And I think the first question is, who is God? And the answer is, maybe not. God is a spirit that does not have a body like men. That might not be the first one, but it's one of the first ones. The first ones might be about, what did God make? God made me and all things, something like that. It's been a while, I need to review. But it was perfect for when my kids were really little, but I wanted to, as they've gotten older, to start explaining along with the memorization why we believe the things we believe, like why we're memorizing these answers, why the answers are what they are, if that makes sense. I don't know. So what I liked about this, and we haven't gotten very far into it yet because we're taking our time, but if you see, so this is lesson 3. The theme is God made man in his likeness. And there are 3 catechism questions that go with it, and we will take our time memorizing each one. Once my kids have memorized each one, that is when I will move on to the next lesson, even if we've already finished the other stuff that goes with it. But this takes a little while to get through. So we'll take our time learning one question at a time. It comes with a psalter to sing. So I don't know anything about music. I don't know how to read music. I did not grow up singing psalter hymns. So I have just done the best that I can and found another song on Spotify. This one is based on Psalm 8. Poor Bishop. Man, I am not as prepared I'd like to be. Poor Bishop something has quite a few songs that are based on Psalms. And so we just are memorizing the Psalm through song. And so we also listen to the song and sing it every day. And then each lesson came with a Bible verse that was related to the subject that we use as one of the Bible verses that we're memorizing. And then there is like actual teaching about it, about why those things are true. And then some review questions and answers to go through. So I will break this down and go through it just a little bit per day, but we will continue every day to learn our catechism question and answer and listen to our hymn. So right now, like I showed you in the box, the catechism questions are in here. And then once that's done, if we've done everything already in here, then we'll just do the song. If we haven't, we'll like read a little section and then listen and sing the song that goes with it. And I've been really enjoying it. Like I said, we're taking it really slow, so we haven't made it far, but I like it and I'm excited for that. It's also cool because, so this one is Genesis to Malachi, book 1, obviously. We spent like the last 3 years very slowly working our way and studying through the book of Genesis. So it's neat to now be learning catechism questions related to that, if that makes sense. So that's that. We do those 3 things every morning. And then we move on to some more like morning basket type stuff that we loop through. It's a lot of subjects that I decided we didn't need to do quite so often in an attempt to try and make my school day shorter. We are looping through them a little bit less frequently. So I will tell you what they are. One of them is our hymn study. If you go to Ambleside Online, they put out, I think it's 12 hymns, 1 per month of every school year, starting in August. I think it goes August to July. And you can use whatever hymns you like, and we don't go into depth much with them, learning about them. That is something I would like to do one day. But we basically are just spending time singing one hymn over and over each month until we have it memorized. I would like to make a video about our car school and how we do a lot of homeschool stuff reviewed in the car one day. For example, listening to our hymn playlist. So school is not the only time that they're hearing that hymn. We're also singing it in the car. And then, it turns out that I usually love a lot of the hymns and we'll add them to other playlists that we're listening to at other times during the day or year. So that is the first one. Again, I get that from Ambleside Online. Now, something new I'm doing this year, I'm trying out these morning menus, and I'm not very well prepared. They're not pretty yet. I will put another page here one day that will say morning menu and be pretty. But I, so far, just have our August hymn in here. So the hymn for August is Awake My Soul and With the Sun. And like I said, you can pick any hymn you want, but I think it's kind of cool to think that like all of the Ambleside Online kids are singing this hymn this month. And so, one day my kids might meet some girls from another homeschool family and they'll be, singing a hymn at church and be like, oh, hey, I remember learning this as a kid, and be like, yeah, me too. Oh, wait, I was in this grade when we did that. Not, that they're homeschoolers. They probably won't remember what grade they're in, but I just think it's cool to think that there's a whole group of families that are learning the same hymn this month. So sometimes I think about like the artists who have written them. A lot of the artists who sing the hymn songs, I don't think they're very popular artists. And so they probably see their song list go up high that month. They're like, what is going on? Ambleside Online, that's why. So what I've done is Once I picked the song that I wanted to use on Spotify, like, there's different versions of different songs. I will copy the lyrics, make sure it matches, and then print them out. And I print all 12 songs 3 times so that we each have our own copy. I hole punch it, and then I have a binder that I keep them all in. 3 binders, one for each of us that I keep them in. Although I may change that now that I'm doing these, I might put them all in one binder. But I would like to, so we'll have our hymn, I want to add our folk song, maybe a poem, and I don't know what else. We'll see, church song. We'll just add to it as we go, but so far we just have our hymn in here. Let's see, next is Luther's Small Catechism. The number one reason, I grew up in a Lutheran church and learned the 10 Commandments with hand symbols in a really fun way that I can still remember today with these different hand movements. And I know it's basically just Lutherans and Catholics that count the 10 Commandments in this way, and so my kids will probably always be frustrated with me for teaching them this way, but because I feel like I'm one of few of my friends today who can still tell you what the 10 Commandments are, I just really wanted to teach them in the same way. So my dad actually gave me this Luther's Small Catechism for kids, and it started with the 10 Commandments. So we are going through, again, at a pretty slow pace, literally taking it section by section, very small pace, the 10 Commandments like this. And so that is one of the things that we rotate through. And then another one, so like I said, these are all of my morning basket thing. It's 9 different subjects. We only do one of them a day. It's just a loop. So the next one is a church song, because my kids are still, my 3rd grader can read pretty quickly with the music now, but my kindergartner is still, on CVC words. He can't read a lot of the songs during church. I think it's helpful. I'm just trying to set them up for success by being able to learn the songs that we sing in church, and that requires a little extra practice at home. So I will pick a song that I really love. That's literally how I pick it. It's one that I've heard in church recently that I really love, that I want my kids to learn, and put it in the rotation, and we'll work on singing it. Again, that's probably one that I will print the lyrics to and put that in our morning menus. The next one of these kind of morning basket items is missionary study. So we started this, Not Consumed has a missionary curriculum. There's not a ton to it. It's mostly reading, but it does have a few extra pieces that are cool to go through, that kind of some extra worksheets and stuff. It's mostly reading these YWAM books. So it's the Christian heroes then and now. I think there were maybe 8 different missionaries. This is probably about our 4th one that we've done. These are just, now that we have done this, we used to do it once a week, so we're not doing it quite as often. And because it is story-based, I wish that we were getting to it more often. But again, I had to just cut things down a little bit to try and make our days a little bit shorter this year. But they are such good inspirational books. If you feel like you're going through a hard time, pick up a missionary book and you will learn what a hard time is, So we're reading through Corrie ten Boom right now. We've been working on this one for a while. We're almost done with it, and then we'll move on to the next one. But this is just something that I think is incredibly beneficial, and I'm very happy that I discovered this and have been working on this with them and have gotten to read through it with them. Like I said, I think I will have them read these for as long as they're in my house. Another one that we rotate, another subject that we rotate through is a psalm or a proverb. I literally go back and forth between just readings. This is Psalm 20. The next time this rotation comes up, it'll be a proverb, whatever the next proverb is that we haven't read yet. I think Psalms and Proverbs are super beneficial to be read aloud together as a family, and so I just like to occasionally work that into our plan. The next one is a poem. So I have this Ambleside Online poetry book. It is a volume 1. I definitely want to get the next volume soon, but we just worked our way through this last year, and I've been working on this one still. There are poems for every month of the year. Yes, this one is sorted January through December, but not every day of the month. So for example, it's August. So you'd say like, oh, is there an August 20th? No. It goes, there are 16 poems for August. So if I wanted to do a poem a day, you could easily write out, August 1, August 2, August 3, August 4 for the first week, and then the next week, August 5, 6, 7, 8. But if there's one for the specific date, I will read that one. If not, then I will just pick like the closest date to it. And every now and then we come across one that we all just really love and want to memorize. And so after we read our poem for the day, then we will work on the one that we are memorizing just by reciting it together, reading it and reciting it together. So that is our poetry study. Nothing fancy there. Another one that we rotate through is a composer study. Now that I have purchased from Simply Charlotte Mason. Right now we're doing Mozart. This is another thing. Last year, I don't know why, but I decided that we were going to try and do 2 composers and 2 artist studies, which, okay, I know the reason why. Because I started displaying the art piece up in our dining room, and I really enjoyed having that there, and I had front-loaded a lot of the work so that basically we were done with picture study halfway through the year. And I was like, I don't want to stop displaying the artwork. It's really cool to get to see what we're learning about every week. So I decided to keep going with it and bought a second one, which we didn't finish, and now we're finishing this year. So it all averages out, right? So Mozart was the second composer that I had purchased last year. We are finishing that now, and just at a slower pace. And then once it's done, we're not picking up another one. We will do one next year, and I'm very, very content with that. Out of all the things that my kids need to learn, I need to focus more on reading and math, and I want to focus more on the Bible and science and history. I don't need to focus as much on composers. I like that we're touching on it every now and then, but it's not as important to me to do as frequently. So that, I think I said, is from Simply Charlotte Mason. I really like their composer study. It's simple, usually I think about 9 lessons, so you could spread it out however you want throughout the year. That is just how we are doing it this year. Another thing, I already said the folk song I will be printing. Those don't start, I think, until September for Ambleside. I get those also from Ambleside Online, again, because I just have this dream of my kids making friends or future wives one day that they can say like, oh, I learned that folk song the same month you were singing it. I just think that would be cool. But it's neat to learn different folk songs. We've learned a lot of fun ones that we didn't know before over the years, and so we will continue to do that semi-frequently. Picture study, let me see. This is another one we do. This is by Simply Charlotte Mason. Most of them are by artist, so it's like an artist study. Then they have a few that are themed. This one, I think, is all, Genesis. And again, like I said, we have been spending a lot of time in Genesis lately, so I thought it would be really cool, and it was really neat to be studying Genesis at the same time as looking at some of this artwork based on stories in Genesis. So I love, love, love the Simply Charlotte Mason picture studies. Again, this was the second one we were planning on doing this last year. We started the year with Durer and then finished him pretty quickly, and then I started this one and just decided that we're only going to finish it this year, and I will be happy and content with that. Remind me of that when we're a few months down the road and we're done and I don't have any more pictures to display in my dining room. I don't know what I'm gonna do. All right, so that concludes my morning basket very occasional subjects that we rotate through. Then there's 3 more things that we do every single morning that I consider morning basket. The first one of those is our character habit training. The main curriculum that I use for that is laying down the rails. I pick 6 subjects, 6 characters or habits per year to work on, but they never last us the whole year. And so I have started adding on some additional ones. So we started the year with, again, this is from Not Consumed. Oh, let me show you the missionary. This is Not Consuved's missionary study. It's a study of 12 missionaries and their great God. And so we've done Hudson Taylor, Gladys Aylward, Eric Little, and now we're on Corrie ten Boom. Yeah. And it has the schedule in here. It has like some additional information, copy work. Sorry, I just didn't realize I had this. Some fun things like geography type things about him and things like that. So show you that since I have that. Since these things we don't do every day, they're like kind of all mixed in together and a little dusty. Like I said, it's mostly reading, so I don't have to pull that out very often. This is what we're using currently for our character study. It is a devotional from Not Consumed called My Brother's Keeper. Even if you have all girls or a mixture of boys and girls, I would highly recommend this study. It's a biblical study on loving your siblings. It is written to siblings, not to brothers, so it's helpful for all kids, and it's really good. Now, let me show you what I have here, because I just don't like buying a bunch of stuff that we then end up throwing away. This is our second time going through here. On the first page, it has like the little devotional, and then on the right side, it has like a blank space for them to do an activity. I just go through, every single page is like this. I just go through and make copies of that right side. So I have 2 copies for my kids for them to do the activity part on, and I will read them this side. And then I will keep the book, and we'll probably do it again either next year or the year after that. So this has, there's some like deep stuff in here talking about like jealousy, and when like the one for today was when a sibling has wronged you, just some deep subjects that I have learned things about my kids that I didn't know that I think have been really beneficial. I don't know, it's a really good study. So that's what we're doing right now. It's only 20 of them, so it's like, 5 weeks? It's not very much. And then after that, we have Fundamentals for Kids is a Manners, I think it's called Manners by Mary or Miss Mary, something like that. It is a subscription box that I tried once. I think we really enjoyed it, but it's been a long time since we've done it, so we're gonna go through that again. That is only a few weeks. And then we'll do our laying down the rails main stuff. And then if we have, I think we'll probably have a little bit of extra time at the end of the year. This is one subject I'm not going to, like, once it's done, we have shorter school days. We can be working on character training and habits throughout the entire year, every day. I think that's important. So then there's another one that I like to rotate in by David Thomas. It's Smart and Strong, Strong and Smart, something like that. It's a workbook for boys specifically. And it works on a lot of like emotional intelligence type stuff. That's really good. So some more character formation in there. But again, the main stuff that we use is laying down the rails. And we do that every day. And then we do something that I started last year. Again, we started quite a few new things last year that have turned out really well. So I like to include a unit study. The kids and I take turns picking out a unit study. You know, there's like a unit study on basically every subject you can possibly think of. And so I like to have my kids and I pick a theme and then we will learn about it for a while. So we started last school year, was at the same time as the Olympics was happening. So I chose Olympics, and then my oldest son picked espionage and spy study, and we learned a lot about that, which was really cool. And then towards the end of the year, we started my youngest pick, which was survival. And his pick is a longer unit study that is going to take us a while to get through. It might take us the whole year, but it's okay. We're having a lot of fun with it and really enjoying it. But we are literally learning different survival tactics pretty much all year. So it's very heavily based on a lot of Bear Grylls' stuff. The unit study was, oh man, let me see. I have it. I can tell you. Give me just a second. I can tell you who it's from. No. Oh, it's a YouTuber. What is her name? The Waldock Way. Okay. So she actually, all three of those unit studies, if you're interested in any of them, I will say the Olympics one was, I would say, very worldly. So just a heads up there. But we really enjoyed the spy one, and the survival one, like I said, it's based very heavily on a lot of Bear Grylls' stuff. So like his shows, his books, stuff like that. And because he has so much stuff that he has produced, it's going to take us a while to get through it all. But my kids, my 8-year-old boy and my 5-year-old boy, are eating it up and really enjoying it. So the last thing that we do in our morning basket every day, and I am sorry this video has been so long and chatty, it takes much less time for us to get through it than it has been to explain it. But the last thing is we started Spanish this year. This is like the new thing that we have added into our schedule. Out of all the things that we're like trying to take back, this was the one thing that we really added in. We are using talkbox.mom. I've heard it said that it's pricey, but really worth it. We're going at it at a slower pace so that it's a little bit more spread out, which makes it cheaper, but we are really enjoying it. The very first thing that you learn to say is, I'm hungry. And like, how many times do our kids say that a day? Tengo hambre, tengo hambre, tengo hambre. And so it was fun for them. The way talkbox.mom explains it is basically like, for the first, 4, 5, 6, 7 years of your life, you are learning your native language, for us, English. You are learning your native language just by hearing it and speaking it. That's it. So when you are learning a second language, they follow that same model where you are just learning to hear it and to speak it. You don't need to learn the grammar. You don't need to learn the spelling or how to write it, anything like that. Their main focus is just hearing and speaking, hearing and speaking. And so they take that and they try and teach you a really common language that you would use on a regular basis, like I'm hungry. And so it comes, like I said, it's a subscription box. The first box, the whole theme is snacks. So you're like in the kitchen, you're learning different foods, you're learning different things that are in the kitchen and stuff like that, and different phrases like I'm hungry. And it's just, I don't know, it's been awesome so far. We're almost to the end of our first box. So I'm really excited. I'm not even sure what the theme is for the second box, but the other thing is too, like, you're not supposed to master it. It's supposed to be like you go through, get a really good base level, move on through all the boxes, and then you can come back to that first one and build upon it, which just feels very natural. Another thing I like about it is I can't speak Spanish. I took Spanish lessons most of my, elementary and high school years, but I learned a few words and that's about it that I could still tell you today. So I definitely can't pronounce a lot of it correctly, but it comes with an app that has a native speaker speaking it, and there's a ton of different languages. If you're interested in anything other than Spanish, they have a lot of different languages available. So yeah, we learned La Mesa today, the table, and a few different phrases with that. You can see on my planner. I don't know if I said it or not already, but come sit at the table. Ven a sentarte. Again, I might be saying that wrong, but I have a great app that tells me how to say it the proper way. So usually I like ending our morning basket time with the unit study with something fun that feels different and easier for our brains. It gives us a minute to like take a deep breath and relax before we trudge on to the next heavier subject. But Spanish has actually been doing that for us. I thought that we could rotate it in less frequently, and it turned out as I started to look at the curriculum, I was like, oh no, we need to be doing this every day. And I just had like this one blank line here at the bottom of my morning basket. I was like, whatever, well, instead of ending our morning basket time with our unit study, we'll end it with Spanish. And it has actually been a great thing for our family. It's really fun, it's engaging. It has you, each new word or phrase you learn, it says to go through it, like practicing all these different emotions. So say it excited, say it grumpy, say it scared. And we do it all together, and it's just a really, I don't know, it's a fun way to reconnect, to kind of just refresh a little bit from everything we've already gone through before we move on into heavier subjects. So that has been wonderful so far. So it's kind of funny that because we've already started and we're like 6 weeks into the school year, I can kind of tell you what we already think about these things. It'll be interesting to see at the end of the year if I still feel the same or if it has changed and if my motivation has worn off, because there's definitely a lot of beginning of the year motivation right now. All right. So then we have Bible, science, and history. In the past, I have done all three of these subjects every single day. This year, again, in an attempt to make our days a little bit shorter, I decided it's not really necessary for us to do them every day. I am happy with hitting each one of those subjects about 2 or 3 times a week. So we rotate, I can just show you. So it's like, day 1 of this week, we did science and history. Day 2, Bible and science. Day 3, history and Bible. Day 4, science and history. And I just rotate through 2 out of 3 every single week, every single day. And then that way we are, so for example, history we did 3 times a week, science we did 3 times, and Bible we did twice this week. But if you rotate, it'll be 3 times the next week, you know? So it works out. It's good because each of those subjects can have a shorter lesson, but in general, they're usually a lot of reading and a little bit longer. And I don't want to wear my kids out. I don't want to wear my throat out spending a ton of time reading. So it's helpful to just do 2. Totally good with that. Our science, we will probably, so we are using, let me see here. I'll start with science, I guess. We have been using The Good and the Beautiful, but this year I decided to switch to Apologia. The reason I decided to switch mostly is that of all the subjects in the whole world, science is the one, I love learning about science. I think it's really fun, but also I am probably the laziest with teaching it. So as far as like projects and stuff go, they are like the first thing to slack off that I am, you know, I just, unless I have everything I need right in front of me, I'm like, maybe we'll do it later, and then we never do. And I had heard, one, Apologia is Christian based, which I love. In fact, let me show you. It's really cool. The very, very beginning. So we're doing astronomy this year. Apologia's prayer for you. Let me just read this to you really quick because it's awesome. May you always know that, and it references different Bible verses. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. May you gain a deeper appreciation for and an understanding of the beauty of creation, starting with yourself and your place in God's creation. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. They will rule the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, the livestock, the whole earth, and the creatures that crawl in the earth." May your science book be like a treasure map that leads to the best treasure ever, knowledge of your Creator's love for you. For every new scientific fact that you learn this year represents your understanding more fully what God already knows. How magnificent are your works, Lord. How profound your thoughts. May you always recognize how incredible it is to live in a world of delightful mystery and scientific discovery. He made the earth by his power, established the world by his wisdom, and spread out the heavens by his understanding. And may you never forget the most important fact to have written in your mind and engraved on your heart. His faithful love endures forever. And that was written by Rachel Eunice, I think, Apologia Science and Math Content Director. So very Christian-based, which I love. And I had also heard that Apologia is great for teaching kids basically responsibility and how to, it's a good subject for them, or a good curriculum for them to do on their own. Now, I decided, so they say all of their like elementary subjects, you can, or not subjects, elementary science units, you can do in any order that you want, it doesn't matter. But they do have a suggested order for you. And it starts with I might be wrong, but I think it started with astronomy in kindergarten or first grade. And up to this point, we've always done science together. And I don't think that my kindergartner is ready to do this on his own. I mean, he's definitely not. He can't read this much yet. So I decided to keep it a family subject for now and just start at their suggested lowest level, with the thought that in the future, because it's less lessons and it won't take us as long to get through, I may have my older son one day go ahead and start doing 2 until he gets up to the suggested level that the suggested whatever that they have for his age. Like I said, you can mix and match the ages to whatever you want. If you want to do astronomy in 6th grade, you can. They just suggest doing it in this order. And then that way, at some point, so we're still doing it all together, basically, is what I'm trying to say. But with the intention that one day, either I will have them each do it on their own and they'll continue to do the same thing, which would be nice because then I can still just buy, one book and they can do it like that. Or I'll have them spread out a little bit because I think it would be really easy for my son to do a couple of these a year and kind of catch back up to where they suggest, so that then they're not working on the same thing and can do it also. I think there's an advantage to both, and I'm just not really sure which way we'll go, but I see in my future the need for me to not be teaching science, if that makes sense. So that's why I've landed on Apologia. I'm absolutely loving it. Let me show you the workbook that goes with it. Notebooking journal. We have, so there's like different activities in here for them to do, a mnemonic, a little book that you make. There's some crossword puzzles. There's question and answers that like I can review with them out loud, or they can write the answers to in the book. Just however you want to do it. It's actually pretty simple. And it has like a suggested outline and everything of the schedule. So very, very simple. Again, we are still using this as a family subject, but I can see us very easily, possibly one day, making it an individual subject, if that makes sense. Okay, next, I guess I will show you history, since that's what we did next this week. We started using this last year, and it is probably, there is a tie between this curriculum and our Bible curriculum, between all-time favorite curriculum that we've ever used. This one is incredible. It is from Simply Charlotte Mason. It's the only history curriculum we've ever used, so, you know, at me if you think I'm wrong and there's a better one, but I really, really love this. And as you can see, it is history, geography, and Bible. It is, and also grades 1 through 12. I like doing family subjects. So their rotation is a 6-year rotation. I know a lot of history curriculums do 3 or 4. So this is a little bit more spread out. But the thing is, the way I see it, like, so my oldest is in 3rd grade, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So he may not ever do these last 2 or 3. He may not ever get to those a second time, but he will have been older when we went through them the first time. Unlike right now, when he's younger, he's only in 3rd grade here. What did I say? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So he might be going through this as a young elementary student, and then also a high school student. So he will get a repeat. And okay, so that's just one of the cool things. Something else that I love about it, I like rotations. I like that the history, if I didn't say this was from Simply Charlotte Mason, I also like that it's a combination of history, geography, and Bible, because a lot of history curriculum does not take into account for biblical history, and it should be included. As Christians, we believe that the Bible is truth. We have a general pretty good idea of when a lot of the events in the Bible happened, and how beneficial to actually learn them at the same time as a more secular history, and to learn about, like right now, learning about the Exodus from Egypt, but also what life was like for the Egyptians and the pyramids and all of the idols and false gods that they had, just learning it all at the same time. And then to add in geography at the same time. So my kids are studying Africa with this. I'll show you. So, okay, Genesis through Deuteronomy and ancient Egypt. All right, so if we go to lesson 1, term 1, oh, that just tells you all the books you need. It is very book heavy, which is Charlotte Mason-esque. Also pricey, just a heads up. But if it's a rotation, then it'll build upon itself, and you won't have to buy as many books the next time you are in that year. So I could see this being incredibly beneficial if you're a large family and have a lot of kids. Okay, so lesson 1, all that you needed was the Bible, and then if you have kids in grades 7 through 12, there were 2 extra books that you needed for them. So my kids were not in those grades. So we just needed the Bible for lesson 1. The next time that we go through this lesson, I will have kids in those grades. So we will be building upon it. We will do the family subject right here using the Bible. And then we will also do the stuff for grades 7 through 12. Let's see, same thing for lesson 2. Let me show you a better one that breaks it down even more. 7 through 12, 10 through 12. There's 4 through 9. It's all kind of different. Okay, here's a perfect one. All right, lesson 80. So this one actually doesn't have a family. So this one had a family. This one has grades 1 through 3. I guess if you only have a kindergartner, you get to skip that lesson. So grades 1 through 3 are going to read this book. Grades 4 through 6 are going to read that book. 7 through 9 that book, and 10 through 12 that book. And I don't know, you could probably use this however you want. If you have kids in all of those levels, how about some, like assigned reading there? If you, like me, at some point in time, the next time I go through this, I will probably have 7 through 9. So we might just do that one book. I don't know. I like the way that it builds upon itself. I like that it uses a lot of living books. And I like the geography. Let me show you that part. So this is the binder that I was talking about before. I used this as like a morning menu last year. I haven't changed out my years yet. So like I told you, I have our hymn study in here. So these are all the other hymns for the year, except for the one that we're on right now. And then folk songs, and then visits to Africa, which is the geography portion of this curriculum. So this is probably easier if you were actually, this is one thing I will say might be easier to actually buy the workbooks instead of the PDF, but I did the PDF and I kind of would like to do this with them next time. So I will probably continue to buy the PDF because otherwise I'd be buying 3 workbooks. So for example, visit number 1 to Africa, it just taught them 3 countries in Africa. And then in the workbook, you're supposed to like bend it backwards and from memory try and fill in where those countries were. And that continues to build on itself. And it has some suggested reading that goes with it as well. So it's kind of neat the way that works. The suggested reading gets into it more. So then like you can see visit number 2 to Africa, it added 2 more countries. And then visit number 3 added some more countries. And so they're slowly placing and memorizing where these different countries are. And they're learning some like social studies type things about these countries. But also we're reading Exodus and Genesis and Exodus and reading about this area of the world in Egypt. And historically we're reading about events in Egypt and like the pyramids and stuff, like I said. So I don't know, it's really, really neat. I feel like it's incredibly well-rounded. It is the only history curriculum I plan to use. One day I may change my mind, but this one just feels like such a good investment and one that you can use for the long haul. Right now, like I said, we're in Exodus, so these are some of the things some of the books that we're using with it. Ancient Egypt and Her Neighbors, Boy of the Pyramids. This is a fun fictional story placed in Egypt. This is Exodus, a commentary for children. So like as we're reading through the different plagues, it's explaining them in incredible depth and just, it's really, really cool. It also suggested like this Then and Now Bible Maps book, which is neat. And then I'll show you, there's other stuff as well, but these are like the things that we use the most often, and so I keep them in my cart. Hungry Planet, which, yes, these books are very outdated, but they're a fun touch on each of these things. I made a video about teaching geography this year. I think it's also, like, YouTube is a really, you're on YouTube, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you use YouTube well, but I think it's an underutilized resource that can be really beneficial. We cannot take the time or finances to travel all over the world and all the different places that we're learning about, but we can take a few minutes to watch a video of somebody that has, or videos of different people that have, and get different people's perspectives. So I don't know, there is a couple that we really enjoy watching, Kara and Nate. That's their YouTube channel also, Kara and Nate. And they've been traveling the world full time, I think for about a decade. And so they pretty much, I know they've been to well over 100 countries because that was their goal at one point in time. So almost anything that you're studying, you could probably look up a video of them in that country and just, I don't know, it's just fun to see like what it looks like to date too. I think that's a neat addition to add into that. And so we like to do that sometimes when we're eating our lunch. After a long few hours of school, we get to kind of rest, and that is like the one time that we watch TV while we're eating is at lunchtime, but I try and make it educational. So yeah. All right. Okay. And finally, the last of our like main core family subjects that we do is Bible. And again, Simply Charlotte Mason's history and Answers in Genesis Bible curriculum is probably, they're a good tie for my absolute favorite curriculums. And you can easily see why they're very similar. This also, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4 year thing that you can put on repeat, and they have different levels. I don't remember how high their levels go, but I know that one of the workbooks, so for this year I got, let me see, I printed it and did the same thing that I always do. So one is a K through 1. So it comes with the teacher book, which is like the main thing that you're working through. And then theirs comes with like additional worksheets that go with the lessons. So we have a K through 1, and then I think I have a 2 to 3 or 2 to 4 is the other one. 2 to 3, okay. So one workbook was K through 1 and one was 2 to 3. And I just kind of went through and picked out my favorite ones. I would probably next time just base it on my oldest kid, because there's a lot of stuff that my youngest can follow along with. They're close enough in age, right? You know, they're like 2 years apart, 3 school years. So it's pretty easy for them to piggyback on each other's work. But it's easy enough for my youngest one to kind of keep up with the oldest. So like I said, this is based on a 36-week school year. I talked about that in my planning, my schedule. This is the second book. It took us 3 years to get through the first book, and I'm not sad about it. It was just based on Genesis. So this one is Moses through Hosea, but the first book was just Genesis, and there is a lot to go through in Genesis. So I don't mind that we really, really took our time. It's kind of funny that we're at Exodus in history and we're in Exodus in Bible, and so there's actually a lot of overlap right now. But they focus on different things, and so it's helpful to have both. It's kind of neat. So it's called 36 lessons, but I break up each of those, it's supposed to be like 36 weeks, and I break up each one of those weeks into more than a week's worth of work. So like, you can see, it comes with videos. So that's usually the first thing that we do each day is watch the building blocks video for each lesson. And I love this. There's a little section to parents with some scriptural background and historical background. And then this is a lesson, this is a lesson, this is a lesson, this is a lesson. So I have this 1 week broken down into actually 6 days, which if you saw, we're doing Bible 2 to 3 days a week. So that's like 2 or more weeks of what should have been 1 week. So you can see how it gets stretched out. But this curriculum is fantastic. If you don't know Answers in Genesis, that's Ken Ham. That is the same person who has the Ark Encounter or the Creation Museum, dinosaurs, like the man who gives Christian kids dinosaurs back is the way I like to describe him. He, in our first year, in year 1, he talked all about how dinosaurs, how it's very likely to believe that dinosaurs were on the ark, and explains the Ice Age and how all of that fits into what we also believe about the Bible and about Earth only being about 6,000 years old, and just how it all actually does make sense despite what secular scientists want us to believe. And so I absolutely love this Bible curriculum. If that's probably how I would put it, is that it's like a very sciencey-ish based Bible curriculum. but it's so much more than that. It's really good. And yeah, so we have that. So we do that as one of our family subjects. And then, again, it doesn't take this long to get through a normal school day. But then, I don't know, I've been recording for about an hour. Then we would start our individual subjects. That's probably close to it, maybe a little bit longer on morning basket. So, sorry it's taken me so long to explain it all. But I hope that it makes sense and maybe helps you find a curriculum for a hole that you felt like you've had to try and, I don't know, solve a problem that you're trying to solve with your family. I really like doing family subjects together, and just will try to keep it like that as long as I possibly can. It's easy for me right now to just have two boys that are a few years apart. If we ever have any more kids, that will definitely change the game and present new challenges, but we'll see when that time comes. Other than that, then we would get into our individual subjects, and finally you'll see here I have this row is called enrichment. This is our fun stuff that honestly I have it planned out if I need it, but for the most part it's a lot of stuff that we do over the summer. Stuff like, let's make our follow along watercolor painting, 5 in a row, Bible builds, different things like that that are more like fun extra stuff that we have but that we don't get to very often. And so that concludes our family subjects. If you want to know what my kids are doing in their individual subjects, I will make a probably much shorter video for each one of those. Again, I have a 3rd grader and a kindergartner. Those will be quick to go through and explain. Follow along, hit the subscribe button, and you'll see those videos come up as well. All right, thank you.